So I'm back after a long time. I was in Mallorca, Spain, then Barcelona for 5 days of silent retreat, and then in Geneva for a Red Cross event, and I'm back in New York. Once again, my idea, what is reality? What is reality? Does the physical world actually even exist as physical? Does the physical world have attributes like color, sound, form, texture, taste or smell? Are all these just happenings in our own consciousness? You know, what we call reality is really the translation of an interaction between a certain arrangement of neurons and electromagnetic vibrations in the brain. That's what translates into the experience of color, form, taste, smell, all those things that we call experience, things that we attribute to the world, the qualities we attribute to the world, are actually a translation of these electrical impulses and the arrangement of neurons in our consciousness. For example, there are certain insects and bees whose eyes are Polaroid. They have Polaroid eyes. So when they look at a patch in the sky, they can tell the position of the sun. In other words, the sun that they see is not the sun that you and I see. Certain pigeons and actually other birds and homing pigeons and bats have instruments or sensory apparatus that resembles radar, and in fact they have access to more of reality than we have without the use of our special instruments. Whales can sense infrasonic sounds. Bats can sense ultrasonic sound. Chameleons' eyeballs swivel on two different axes. I wonder what the world looks like to them. So, you know, when you say, what is the real nature of the world? What's the real color of the world? What's the real sound of the world? There is no such thing. These are not the attributes of a physical world, because the physical world, in fact, is non-physical. It's made up of these subatomic events, which today many physicists are calling haps or happenings. And my theory here, which is not just mine but that of many others, is that all this reality, all the attributes that we give to so-called physical reality are actually events in our own consciousness, the translation of energy and information into haps or happenings or experiences. And therefore the world is conceived, constructed, governed, and comes into existence in our consciousness. You're experiencing me in your consciousness right now, and I'm experiencing New York in my consciousness, and the whole world is happening in our consciousness, and the consciousness in which all this is happening is a single consciousness. The whole universe arises and subsides in that single consciousness. Call it the mind of God, call it the mind of the universe, call it the unified field, whatever. We are contained in each other. Our bodies are in each other, in that they are intertwined, they are circulating atoms. We are part of a single energy field, a single information field, and we are in a single consciousness field. And that single consciousness field is really what the great spiritual traditions call the mind of God. There's nothing outside that mind. Can you think of anything that is outside your consciousness? In fact, can you think at all without your consciousness? Can you experience anything at all without your consciousness? We are contained in that consciousness. It's a single consciousness, and it's a sacred consciousness. It's a transcendent consciousness. Every experience happens there because we're in it. Once again, I'm reminded of the great Sufi poem by the great Sufi poet Jalaluddin Rumi. who says, I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking at God's door. The door opens. I've been knocking from the inside.